Welcome back to another exciting episode of Aaron's Opinion, the podcast for blind people where we talk about critical issues in the blindness community. I'm Aaron Richmond. This episode, like all others, is copywritten by me, Aaron Richmond, and Aaron's Opinion. Thank you. And this episode can be heard right here on YouTube or iTunes, wherever you get the podcast. Consider following us on Facebook, Twitter, and even consider becoming a patron on my Patreon page. Today, we're joined by a very special guest all the way from the UK. Alan Shires is the business development manager of the Voiceover network, and a lot of blind people, myself included, by the way, are very interested in the voiceover industry. And basically, the reason why we're recording this episode today is twofold. One, for you, of course, to promote the Voiceover network and to promote what you do, and then the other is to educate us about the voiceover industry and how, people like myself or many of my audience could potentially get involved in the voiceover industry. So go right ahead, and when the other person joins, she'll just join in. So go right ahead, please.
Hey, well, first of all, Aaron, thank you so much for having us. It's really great to be on your podcast and on your show. So thank you for having us. And it's really exciting to have the opportunity to share with your audience a little bit about the voiceover world. I suppose I'll start with my experience, and hopefully we can draw some stuff out of that. Now, I'm an actor, and I've been an actor for about 20 years. And the problem that I had was the mortgage company didn't necessarily care when my next job came in. So I had to work a 9 till 5, just like everybody else, between acting jobs so that I could pay the bills. And then in 2017, I went to a conference in London, and I sat in a seminar about voiceover. And these were back in the days when we were allowed to have seminars, and before pre-COVID, everything's online now. But it was sort of lovely being able to do those kind of things. And I sat in this room with maybe about 100 other people, and there was a speaker who was telling me that my skills as an actor were transferable, that I could be my own boss, that I could work from home, that I could be a voiceover artist, that I can get involved in video games and commercials and animation and not have to do all of this through an acting realm or my acting agent. And this really resonated with me, and it gave me a lot of hope at the time because I wasn't enjoying the day job. So the lady who was running that seminar was a lady called Rachel Naylor, who will be joining us very shortly, and she is the owner of the Voiceover Network. So the Voiceover Network, I won't go in too much detail about that because I know Rachel will talk about that when she joins us momentarily. But the Voiceover Network is basically a platform to give voiceover artists the opportunity to network with all areas of the industry, and they also produce training. The whole purpose of the Voiceover Network is to help strengthen and support the voiceover industry. So coming into voiceover as a complete newbie, not knowing anything, I was really looking for education, training, opportunity, everything which comes with a new craft. But it was sort of twofold because it is a business and I had to learn the business side of that as well. Unfortunately, members of the Voiceover Network, they are enrolled in a program where no matter what level they are, whether they're complete beginners and they've never done anything before, or they're really advanced, there is something to help them develop, to grow, and to network. So for me, I was making use of my members' benefits, one of which was all of the video content on their website. So I was learning about different genres, I was learning about marketing and business, and after a couple of years after a couple of months work started coming in, but sort of after a couple of years, it was getting more and more regular. I was getting better and bigger paid jobs, booking agents, and now I do work for myself. I don't run a 9 till 5 anymore. So that's sort of about a brief summary about how I got into the industry, but feel free to ask any questions and I will try and help.
Sure, my pleasure, ladies and gentlemen. Let's welcome the next guest. Here she is, right here. Okay. So, hello, hi there. Can you hear me? Hi there.
Hello. There we go.
Hi,
Hello.
my name is Aaron Richmond. This is the Aaron's Opinion podcast. Welcome. How are you doing today?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Very well, very well. Thank you, and thank you for joining. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining me this afternoon.
Oh,
So,
wonderful.
okay. So you are Rachel. Why don't you start, if you would like, by introducing yourself, and then we'll go from there. So go right ahead.
Wonderful. Okay, so we're recording. We're ready. Oh, right,
Yes,
brilliant.
yes.
We're
You're
going
you're
straight
jo- you're
in.
you're joining us in action. You're joining us in progress.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. Right, so yeah, my name's Rachel Naylor. I am an actor, a voice actor. I'm founder and director of the Voiceover Network. I'm editor of the Buzz magazine. I'm host of the Voiceover Hour, and I'm also a multi-award winning entrepreneur.
Great.
So that's me. Yeah. So yeah, lots going on. I'm very busy, and I'm a mum as well. I always like to point that out. I've got two little girls. So
Lovely,
yeah.
lovely. And so, yeah, my name is Aaron Richmond. I'm blind, and I'm the host of the Aaron's Opinion podcast. It's a podcast where I talk about issues in the blindness community from around the world. I've interviewed a lot of guests. I have interviewed an actress from Hollywood, by the way. Alan, you would find that interesting. Um, so a lot of my audience, and myself included, would like more information about the voiceover industry. And, in my case, I'm probably doing this podcast, as I was just telling Ellen, to not only educate my audience about it, but probably to, figure out, tell people, hey, there's a lot of blind people around the world, myself included, who want to learn about it and want to have some role in the voiceover industry, and that we want to know more about this. So that's why we're on this episode today. So very good. Yes.
Awesome.
Um, so, um, Alan, do you have something to add? We were kind of we were kind of intercepted halfway through a
Sorry.
thought there. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I mean, I've pretty much finished my thought. I was quite eager to start telling you a little bit about the voiceover network, but I'll leave that to Rachel because
Okay, so
she's the
okay,
founder. So
sure. Okay, so Rachel, fine. Rachel, tell us about the voiceover network. Back to you. Okay, go ahead.
So yeah, so the Voiceover Network. So I'm a voice actor. I've been a voice actor for over 18 years, and so I came into the industry when it was a very different world. And I love being a voiceover artist. I've always loved talking,
Me
and I
too.
love yeah. So and I love performing as well. And so when I found out about voiceovers, it was just perfect really for me. Anyway, got into voiceovers, loved it, and then I found myself. It was 2013. I went for a drink with three other voiceover artists in West London, and I thought this is really valuable and useful, and we should do this more often because it was great. We got together, we talked about home studios, we talked about agents, we talked about marketing. So I started a little monthly meetup group, which was originally called the West London Voiceover Artist Meetup Group, which is a bit of a rubbish name, but anyway, luckily it changed. And then it just grew from there, and it was just a meetup group that just snowballed. And then end of 2014, I looked at what I'd created. I'd changed the name at this point as well, guys. So I changed it to a much better name, which is the Voiceover Network, thankfully. And I looked at the industry and I looked at what I created. And at that point, it was a wild west in the voiceover world. There was no safe place for voiceover artists to go and get help and support. So I decided that I would relaunch the Voiceover Network as a membership organization in order to be able to help support and strengthen the voiceover industry. And by being a membership organization, it meant that we could create a safe place for voiceover professionals of all experiences. So people who are really experienced, been in the industry for years, as well as people just starting out, provide the best training in the world, provide lots and lots of resources, and create this wonderful community and a culture that's around sharing, giving, and helping each other. And that's basically what we've done. So we're nearly 6 years old, and it's been an incredible adventure launching this company, growing it, and now having hundreds of members based all around the world, and knowing that the Voiceover Network has had such a positive effect on so many people's lives, sharing really, really valuable information and helping people start their voiceover careers and go on to earn money and changing families' lives ultimately. So yeah, there we go. So that was a long-winded answer.
That is the answer that I wanted. I want it to be a full and informative episode. Thank you so much.
Wonderful.
So here's where I'm coming from in this. Um, my academic background is in the field of international relations, and I've been teaching English online for 5 years. So I love to talk all day.
Yeah.
And people always tell me, Aaron, you should get into radio. You should get into broadcasting, they say. So basically my question, as a pretty direct question, would be, so in reality, can someone truly get into the voiceover industry if they honestly have really no experience? Now, in my case, I've been doing the podcast for over a year. I have recorded some voiceover art for another podcast before one time, but outside of that, to be fair, I would be someone who would have zero experience. So in reality, do people with zero experience actually truly get booked and truly benefit and are truly included in the industry? What actually happens?
Absolutely. Now, I would say that there are skills that are very useful in order to be a voiceover artist, and acting is one of them. Acting is a really important skill, but you don't have to come from a acting background. Lots of people come into voiceovers from all sorts of different, and broadcasting. So generally in voiceovers, there are two sort of main ways that people come in, either via acting or broadcasting. But then we do have lots of people who come into the industry from different backgrounds. We've got a pilot at the moment who's just become a voiceover artist. We've got lawyers. We've got people from all over the place. Teachers who have always loved it. And I'm a big believer in people doing what they love. That's something I'm really passionate about, and I feel so grateful that I wake up every day and I have a smile on my face, because what I do doesn't feel like work. And sometimes when often when I'm in a voiceover session, I literally have to pinch myself that I'm being paid to do what I'm doing, because I love it and I enjoy it so much. And I think that's so important. So, for everyone listening, you should be doing what you love. And if you're not, you need to find that, because we're only here for a limited time on this planet, on this earth. It's a gift to be here, and we should treat each day like it's a gift and do what you love. So, sorry, going back to your question. Yes, you can get into voiceovers if you don't have experience. There are a couple of things that you need that are really important. One is a good work ethic, because it's not an easy job. It seems easy. I think from the outside, lots of people think, oh well, I can talk. I could surely do it. You have to. It's a skill to do voiceovers, and you have to be bubbly, outgoing, interested in communication, because that's what it is. It's communicating. That's what we are as voiceover artists. And I often say to voiceover artists, what we do is so important, because we use our voice to inform, educate, inspire, entertain, all these things. So we're given words, and we have to convert those words into messages and connect with people. So it's all about connection. So yes, if you want to get into voiceovers, absolutely. You just need to be willing to train. I think that's the main thing, Alan. Wouldn't you say it's about training?
Yeah, and voiceover is the skill, but then there's the business side of it as well. Knowing how to market yourself, using social media to network and connect, how to sort out your accounts. There's all of these little trinkets which are important to make up your business as a whole. Voiceover is just the product of that business, but there's the whole other business side of it which has to be considered as well, which takes some doing. And for me, when I was starting out, I came from an acting background, so a lot of my skills were transferable, as I said in my intro. But sort of the real challenge for me was, how am I going to get clients? How am I going to find clients? And that's where the business side of things really come to play.
Definitely. Yeah. it's an exciting industry, a very exciting industry. And I mean, right now with what's going on in the world, being able to work from home, so having a home studio and being able to work from home is so wonderful. You know, we kind of joked in the voiceover world that we were ready for the pandemic, you know, because we were already, you know, the majority of us had home studios. So we were already working from a home studio. And so, you know, while the world was freaking out and kind of figuring out how to work from home, we were there, we were ready. And so that was quite, you know, that's been quite amazing. The exciting thing, the other exciting thing is that we can work with clients all around the world. So it doesn't matter where you are geographically, you can work with clients. I mean, I have clients all around the world. And I think that that's very exciting, and it really, you know, and then you've got all the different areas within voiceovers. So people listening, when you think of voiceovers, some people may be thinking, well, what does that mean? Is that commercials? Is that, there's all sorts, there's commercials, documentaries, audio books, you've got corporate videos, you've got anime, you've got dubbing, you've got e-learning, radio dramas. There's just so many different animation. There's so many different areas within voiceovers, yeah, which is exciting.
Well, that is excellent. So Alan, can you tell us more about the business side of the industry, how the actual business aspect works?
Yeah, I mean, there's a few different branches to this. First of all, like any entrepreneur, you have to know who your clients are and how to find them. But what we have in entertainment, and this is for both voiceover and for acting, is we have agents. Agents will have a large list of clients, a large list of contacts, and they will often put us forward for jobs. Sometimes we'll get that just from demos that we've produced, or sometimes we'll audition for it. Sometimes they'll ask us to connect with somebody in America. Sometimes it'll be somebody a bit more local. So there's that dynamic to consider as well. But for me, and this is why the Voiceover Network was so important for me when I joined, is that the videos on the website, the footage on there, I was able to learn about social media. So how do I find clients on social media? I know that they're out there, I know that they're using it, but how do I connect with them? Once I've connected with them, how do I get them to hear my stuff? Once they've heard my stuff, how do I get them to give me an audition? Once I audition for them, how do I get them to book me a job? I'm trying to articulate a pattern which has to happen. And the foundations of all of that comes from training. And then social media aside, well, what do I do about my accounts? What's tax deductible? What isn't? Is this microphone that I want to buy tax deductible? I don't know. Where is that information? And that comes from the Voiceover Network. At least in my experience, all of this came through the Voiceover Network. What was really important for me on both developing skill sets in new genres and also learning more about the industry was training. Every bit of success that I celebrate now sources back to decisions to either network or to train. And both of those platforms came from that decision I made in 2007 that I was telling you about earlier when I joined the Voiceover Network. And I know that I'm sort of saying the Voiceover Network a lot and using those 4 words over and over, the Voiceover Network.
That is fine, considering that's what the organization is called. I would guess that you would call it the Voiceover Network.
Exactly, but here's the thing. I didn't start the Voiceover Network. It's not my company. Rachel started it. It's her company. I was an actor, a passerby, who discovered it and who found it and utilized it, and it completely changed my life. And when people talk to me about getting into voiceover, I think similar to what Rachel says, from the outside it looks easy. But if you have a good work ethic and you make a decision that you're in it for the long run and that you're going to put your effort into it and that you're going to try hard and that you're open to learn new skills and to take direction and to develop a business, I think that you can be really successful, because there is something really wonderful about voiceover, and that is no 2 people have exactly the same voice. They're all unique. And if something is unique, then it has a really high value because there's only one of it. It's prestige. So everybody has their own unique voice. Therefore, everybody has something to offer. How they offer it comes down to how hard they're going to work, and how much education they're going to get, and how much training they're going to get in the industry. And that's what I love about the Voiceover Network. It gave me the opportunity to network, it gave me the opportunity to learn, it gave me the opportunity to develop. And what I always say to people who want to get started is, what I've experienced, you can experience too. I didn't do anything different. I'm not, one in a million or anything like that. My experience is where it is. It's factual, it's truth. I lived it. It's not luck of the draw. It's not randomized. I didn't just fall lucky. I found a platform which offered me all the tools I needed to set up a business, and then I pioneered that, and I worked hard at that, and I developed that. And anybody who wants to do that, they can. They just have to make the choice.
Excellent. So good. So, do you want to tell us about some of the acting that you've done already?
Is that aimed at Rachel or at me?
You.
Me, cool. Yeah, I mean, I started off with a very theatrical background. I knew that I wanted to be an actor from probably about the age of 9. I'm not great with spelling and grammar or English or sciences. I was always the performer, and I just fell in love with it. As I got a little bit older, I began learning new crafts. I got an agent as a kid, so I got my first agent at 15. Started doing the odd bits of TV work. That began to develop a bit more. After I got my degree, I started auditioning for commercials, films, and that took a year out. And that year out was to do some self-reflection. I got married, I bought a house. I did the whole life thing, but everything just sort of went on pause for a year. And in that year, what I realized was that the lifestyle that I'd created wasn't sustainable. It was too few and far between when the next acting job would come in, and though the pay was great when it did come in and it would tide me by for a while, I didn't have any control over it, and there was not much space to develop and evolve. And then that's ultimately what took me to the Actors Convention, where I met the Voiceover Network.
Excellent. Okay. And Rachel, would you like to tell us your experience? The audience finds it interesting, probably.
Wonderful. Yeah, no, absolutely. So I come from an acting background as well. My grandfather was actually an actor, so I grew up listening to him or watching him in films and in theatre, and he had an amazing voice. He used to do the movie tone news as well. So that's what kind of got me into acting at a young age, and I then ended up doing lots of musicals as a teenager. And then at drama school, my drama teacher suggested I get into voiceovers, and I love doing voiceovers, and I've done lots of different types of voiceovers. My first kind of the thing that I'm probably most well known for is I'm actually the voice of Virgin Media. So those who are listening, if you call Virgin Media, Virgin Mobile, Virgin Business, that's me on the end of the phone telling you you're in a queue and will be answered in 60 minutes. Yeah, sorry, that's me. So that's that's been a fun job.
So we do have listeners in the UK. So
okay,
now,
fantastic.
So just so that we're overly clear, now they've definitely put a face to the voice.
That's it. So, and I actually recorded every week for 13 years for them, which is that was a pretty cool job. But I've done lots of commercials. Recently, I've done some commercials for Starbucks. And I do a lot of video games as well. So I am the voice of Lariel the Ever Queen in the Total War Warhammer games, which is so much fun. Lots of battle cries and going off. Yeah, I loved doing her, being the voice of her. And then Pharaoh in the video game Mutant Year Zero, Road to Eden. And I'm Gemma in Wolfenstein Youngblood as well. So there's a few other games, but those are kind of video games is so much fun working on video games, because you really, it's different to theatre and on camera stuff, because you don't have to learn your lines, even though I'm one of those people who are quite blessed with learning lines. So I do learn lines really easily, but actually with video games, you don't learn the lines. You get into character, and then you're sight reading the lines in character. which as an actor is a really exciting type of acting. And it's very much, you really go back to childlike state in a way. You know, it's really, you have to kind of, you because you don't have any costume, you don't have a scenery, you don't have other actors, you just have an Excel spreadsheet in front of you. So you have to really get into character and be like a child and close your eyes and see all around you the kind of in your mind the magic, which actually for all your listeners is perfect, because that's what you guys are all, you know, it's all about your imagination, and creating these worlds, and it's just, yeah, it's magical. So there we go. So that's I mean, I love doing video games, love voice acting, and feel very grateful.
Excellent. So, you know, I mean, in my case, you know, I have the year of podcasting and some of the things that I've done in that. You know, I have done some voiceover for another podcast, but I think a fair question that anyone in the audience who's blind would want to know is, so do you know how transferable or how easy would this be in truth and reality for someone who is blind? What do you really think?
Can I take that one?
Go. Well, both of you, either way. Yes.
So I would say 100% if you're willing to take up a new skill. So there is courses out there, there is material out there. Just because you're starting from a different position to where an actor is, it doesn't mean that you can't get to the same level. You just have to play a little bit of catch up, and there is so much resource out there. And that's where the decision comes in. If you really want it, then you have to do what it takes to get it, and that's a journey.
Sure.
And we have members who are, I'm not sure we've got any at the moment who are blind, but we've definitely got partially sighted members. So
that would be, well, that would be someone who, you know, I would perhaps I would like to network with that person. And that person would be welcome on this podcast, of course. That would be very interesting, because, you know, a lot of blind people would want to know, well, this all sounds great, but is it truly doable? So, you know, and when people get started, is there any type of, I guess, gig that you usually get first, or is it just wherever you happen to fall into the industry, or is there certain things that you start doing and then work upwards from there? What do you think about that, as far as the genre of the voiceover art that you do?
I mean, all I can do is speak from my own experience.
Sure. Yeah.
I started off with a lot of corporate gigs, so it was all a case of reading out bits of text which didn't make much sense to me but was relevant to the receiving client. And I would say your description is fairly apt, to be honest. I have experienced an evolution in the quality of work that I get, and I measure the quality by two things: either what I really enjoy or by how well paid it is. So as the years have gone on, I have enjoyed the gigs that I've got more, and I have been getting paid more money for the gigs that I get more. I hope that answers the question.
I mean, I'm going to jump in and just say that I think that, you know, obviously all our senses, you know, everybody, we all have senses, and we use our different senses, and your listeners who obviously who are blind, I've always thought, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but that makes your other senses stronger, heightened, because you have to be. So I think that actually your listeners are probably some of your listeners who would be absolutely brilliant voiceover artists, because they would be more in tune with their hearing and with their voice. And so I absolutely, I would applaud anybody who wanted to come in, and we would, here at the Voiceover Network, if anyone wants to join the Voiceover Network, wants to get into voiceovers, you know, via this podcast, please do email us, and we'll do you a super duper deal, and we'll do everything we can to help you, because I think I think what you're doing, I think this podcast, Aaron, is amazing, and it's fantastic. And I'm so honoured to be here and
Oh, I appreciate I appreciate. I know it's the honor is to have both of you on my podcast. That's the interesting part. And thank you for coming in today. I appreciate it. Neither one of you know me, and you just both of you took up this opportunity. So I greatly appreciate it. Okay, and now as far as your voice acting goes, you've done a lot of video games, you've done some commercials. Is there anyone would say that everybody has their kind of their dream character, their dream job. So is there a dream character that you've always wanted to voice, but is still challenging for you, or a character that you've always wanted to voice, but some other actor gets the gig? What do you think?
Gosh, well, that's a tricky one. I mean, my big thing is I want to be in a Disney animation movie. So I'd like to be, in Frozen 3. That would be great. But
you've interviewed the director for Frozen.
Yes, Jamie Sparrow Roberts. Yes.
Yes.
So that was, oh my gosh, I was so excited about that.
So if you want to be in Disney, talk to that person.
I know. Well, there we go. I've befriended her now, so I'm a step closer, which is exciting. But in terms of characters that the question was, the characters that we would struggle?
Your dream, sure. No, well, both, sure. So you're either a dream character that when you wake up every day you say, gee, I'm working really hard at voiceover, and I really, really, really want to voice this character. I'm really fascinated by this character, or I'm really fascinated by this film or this environment, or maybe a character that you find to be really, really, really challenging that you hope in the future you will be able to voice properly. I think that's a strong question. I think.
I mean, for me.
Yes, go ahead. We'll pass for her, and we'll come back to you. Go ahead. Yes, go ahead.
For me, the dream character in voiceover would be the villain. Now, whether that's a villain in animation or video game, whether it be Disney or anime, I'm really not too bothered. As long as it's a villain with high stature, he returns, he causes a lot of issues. They really struggle to get rid of this guy. That's sort of the character for me. Really exaggerated movements, a lot of supernatural powers, quite evil, has a wicked laugh. That's sort of the character that I would like to do. And then to tackle the second part of your question was, are other people getting it, and do we struggle? I mean, I put a lot of effort into developing those types of characters. If I ever get a gig which has a character which I can't do, then I'll develop it and I'll get training and I'll evolve in that area. But as of yet, I haven't had too many auditions. I think, like I mentioned earlier on, it evolves, and I believe as time goes by, I will get more evil wizard-like characters that I can audition for.
Sure. So certainly, if you had been cast in Harry Potter, you would have wanted to be Snape for sure.
Well, do you know? Well, Snape's an interesting one because he wasn't actually a villain.
That's true.
He played the part of one.
Yeah, that was actually in that's the best character, or that's the hero of the entire story, obviously.
Exactly.
But then when you said deep voice, I forget his name of that actor who passed away sadly a few years ago. But that person with that person with that deep voice. So that's what that reminded me of when you said you wanted to play an actor you wanted to have a character with a deep, dramatic, distinctive voice like that.
He would be my second choice. I would Voldemort all the way. That's the level of evil that I want to play in a character.
I see. Good to know. Good. That's a correct.
The great fun of villains.
No, I think so too. Let me ask a strange question. If now that you hear the way that I talk, what type of character could you envision or imagine my voice embodying?
Ooh.
Okay, go. No. You turn. No, Rachel, you answer the question. You turned on your camera.
I mean,
genre-wise, I can see you doing a lot of audiobooks, a lot of broadcasting, sort of radio stuff. Character-wise, you've got a deep voice, but it's got colour. Oh, hang on, I'm getting a notification saying the meeting's cutting off. There we go, got rid of it. It's still there?
Yes.
Yeah, it's still there. Yeah, so types of characters that I see you play, I could see you doing some villains. You know, bring the tone down a little bit, learn a manic laugh. You know, you've got the quality for it for sure. But you do whatever characters you want to do. It's not about typecasting people, it's about evolving and developing. So if you wanted to play a high-pitched fairy, then work on that voice.
I'm not sure I can see you doing a high-pitched fairy.
No,
I
don't.
I'm going to jump in and I'm going to say, Aaron, I think you'd be a great hero.
Oh, that's so nice. Thank you so much. I'm glad I'm not only assigned to the villain, but it is a fascinating the answer that most actors say is they always want to play the villain because you can really stretch your acting muscles when you're playing the villain. It's the most dramatic, it's the most, you know, you can really put forth the most energy and strength into that persona for sure. But yes, the hero character is also interesting. Or also the other interesting thing, and I've interviewed a comic actress before, is also being a comic actor where you could be in a very serious scene, but you do something that's kind of comical, but in a unsettling way, kind of a nerve-wracking and unsettling way, but still kind of darkly humorous too. So I'm into that dark humor aspect. Yes. Excellent. Well, okay. And very, very good. So what about some unusual, actually, before I ask that question, so have you ever worked with people like from other countries who do not speak English? I mean, it's kind of odd, but like, what do you know about the voiceover industry in like other languages, my second language, French, for instance, and other languages? What do you think?
I mean,
I'm just curious. Yeah.
I recorded, I did some dubbing for an animation that was in Spanish. So we did that in Colombia. So there was somebody there to translate though, and all of the script was in English. So it wasn't too much of a challenge. You know, it would have been nice to just be able to speak to somebody directly, but having somebody there who could translate, I thought was great. And I think a lot of places do that as well.
So meaning that you voiced in English and someone translated?
Yeah, so the animation was Spanish, so I got to watch the animation in Spanish, and then when I dubbed over it, I had a feel for what the character was going to portray. Now the director for the session, he was Spanish speaking, but he could only communicate with me through a translator. I mean, that's not crazy common, to be fair. Generally, what happens is if it comes from a different language, it gets translated, and then the director and the actor are of the same language, and they've got the translated text in front of them. My experience with having the translator present and the director being Spanish, that's not particularly common. It's quite unique.
Yeah, that is interesting. And I guess why do they feel the need to dub certain things? Is it just certain audiences need it to be dubbed? I mean, I can understand it for like the movies, like the famous movies for dubbing them globally, but why would they dub just animation? I mean, wouldn't it be pretty specific to a regional audience? In other words, if you're a young person in Colombia who only speaks Spanish, why would you care about an English dub, I guess, is what I'm asking.
So I mean, if you think about something like The Simpsons, we know how successful that is into English. So I guess my question would be, why wouldn't they want to then translate it into every other language they possibly can?
Sure.
So I think for these companies who do dubbing, they do it with the confidence, knowing that the audience is going to be there for it and that it's worth the resource in getting every language over it.
And just on that, in terms of dubbing, at the moment, it's huge in our industry. It's absolutely huge. And the reason being is that there are so many streaming platforms now, like Netflix, Amazon Prime, Apple TV, Disney Plus, and these platforms need content. They want as much content as they can. So everything they get they dub it into as many different languages as they can. And I think the thought of dubbing in the past has always been kind of foreign language, you know, is going to be is always is normally the English language being dubbed into foreign languages. But the big hot thing that we're seeing in the voiceover industry right now is foreign language films and TV and video games and animation, foreign language, original foreign language stuff being dubbed into English. That's what's really hot at the moment. And it's yeah, they're screaming out for people who can do dubbing, and dubbing is a lot of fun because it's acting. Yeah, so yeah.
Right. Well, I mean, all of it is acting, and really all of it is acting.
It is
in a sense. Yeah, definitely. Well, okay. Well, of course, as I come to the end of the time that I have today, the end of my show. For one thing, seriously, both of you, thank you so much for joining me. I immensely appreciate this honor and this privilege to interview both of you. And I always, on every episode of my podcast, I always like to ask a couple really good questions to end it out. So, I mean, you know, if you could really make me sweat and really ask a question that you really want to know, what do you really want to know about me? I'll give each of you one question.
Yeah, what made you start this podcast? I think it's absolutely amazing.
Sure,
I'd love to know what made you do that.
Well, so what made me start the podcast was over a year ago. I was listening to a lot of podcasts in the blindness community, and what that means is I was listening to podcasts that are produced by blind people and marketed towards a blind audience. So that's how you can have a blind. That's what that means. I found, and I noticed something, a lot of these podcasts out there are just not approachable enough, where I wanted to say stuff, I wanted to have conversations with people about the most important issues around the world. But then anytime I reached out to the podcast hosts, whoever they were, they didn't get back to me. They weren't interested in what I had to say. And since I love to complain and talk and educate people, I thought, well, since I want to complain and talk and educate, why don't I complain and talk and educate myself? So why don't I just start a thing where I just start talking? And the talking, you know, at first started where I was just doing, you know, monologue after monologue, where in one of the support groups for blind people around the world, people ask a lot of silly questions, such as, I don't know, one off the top of my head, should I adopt a pet, right? So then I would take that question and I would read it over the air and I would say, today we're going to talk about the topic of should I adopt a pet dog or cat, right? Then over time, I noticed something. I noticed that the very same people who were asking these questions started to listen to what I had to say. And then from there, everything built upwards from there to then my interest in developing the podcast and putting it into iTunes and practicing with Zoom, getting it to YouTube, developing a following, you know, here in the YouTube, and just basically building the business of YouTubing and a global podcast environment upwards from there. That's a great question. Sure.
Nice. Awesome. Okay. My question is, what's your big life goal?
My big life goal is to educate the world and to truly help and to honestly help as many people as I can realistically help, and to truly only set real goals that are attainable and to create a podcast environment where everyone's welcome. So know that you're welcome on this podcast. That's a great question.
Nice. Thank you.
You are so welcome.
Well, thanks for having us, Aaron.
My pleasure. I do want to let both of you know before we stop the recorder that you both are welcome in my WhatsApp group. I don't want to name drop, but you will be pleased to know that there is someone in the voiceover industry, in your industry, who's already in the group. You'll see who it is when you join the group, I think. But yeah, both of you are welcome in my group. And I will certainly send both of you. The trouble here is, well, Rachel, you joined us in, you swung in here in action, so I never got your, I never got your contact, I never got your email. If you want, I can
introduce you. I can introduce you on email.
Okay. Yeah, actually, if you can connect, because obviously I want to send you guys the video and the episode when it's done. But both of you, but thanks so much to both of you. that was a great interview.
Thank
Finally,
you.
if someone in the audience wants to get in touch with either one of you, here, give yourself a plug. How would they do that?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
yes. So please do, if you're interested in getting into voiceovers, what we would like to do, we'll extend a very special offer to anyone listening who would like to get into voiceovers. So Alan, can I send them to you?
Of course you can.
So Alan at thevoiceovernetwork.co.uk. Just email Alan and say you've come via this podcast, and we will do you an incredible deal. We'll look after you and make sure that you are connected with the right people, and we'll give you support and get you involved with the Voiceover Network. I'm also on social media, so and you can email me, Rachel at thevoiceovernetwork.co.uk, and that's RACHAEL at thevoiceovernetwork.co.uk. And
if you guys have any questions for me, which you never do in the audience, but both of you are welcome to email me. You could also do that by emailing aaronsopinion6@gmail.com. And also, if you want to get involved, if you want to send in your comments, or if you want to call me, my show is the number 1-240-681-9869. And don't worry, that's the show's number. That's not my real number. Sorry. And so then from there, I will say thank you so much. I wish both of you the very best of health. I wish the world very, very good health. And of course, until we meet again, this is Aaron Richmond, Aaron's Opinion, and we have a very special phrase on this podcast. We say, help one person today, help a million people tomorrow.